On this week's episode of The Smoke Break, we kick off season 3 with Taylor Barrett and Zoë Schwartz. We talk about toxic masculinity as well as appreciating milestones and places we've been along the way. Check out The Smoke Break every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio. And welcome back to The Smoke Break. We are here for what I want to call season 3. I am your host, your old pal Zane, here with Taylor Barrett.
Hello.
And Zoë Schwartz.
Hi.
All right, so just want to update you guys. Amanda's gone, a little bit heartbroken. Malik's not gone. He's just not here right now. But with me are two of my best friends. Taylor Barrett, for example, writer, gamer, and the third thing he told me to refer to him as?
Musician.
A musician. Yep, that's the thing. This dude, seriously, one of the funniest people I know. Helped me start out The Smoke Break, helps me write jokes, helps me fucking write music. Like, literally, I could not be working with anybody I enjoy more. So thank you so much for joining us.
Dude, thank you. Thank you for having me back here. It's really cool seeing how much I've come back a couple times, but like just being here for episode 1, season 3 or whatever it's really satisfying. It feels right. It feels kind of like home, and
yeah, we came right back to it.
I appreciate all the opportunities you give me to like be as funny as you think I am and be as creative as I think we make a good team in a lot of those aspects.
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, hey, so excited to have you. And Zoë Schwartz. Okay, so Zoë has been on the show a couple times. I've enjoyed having you so many times that I decided to have you back. Maybe try you out as a guest host. You're probably going to be a host, but I'm super excited.
You already signed the contract.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was going to say, I think you signed something outside. As a therapist, a comedian, and just an all-around awesome, funny person, I am so excited to have you here and just share your perspectives.
Yeah, me too. I'm super excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so we're gonna start off with milestones. Taylor, do you want to start this one off, because I feel like it's something that you're kind of reflecting on right now, especially being the end of the year.
Yeah, end of the year is always like a really important time to, I think, go back and like a lot of people wait until January 1st, and I think that's a normal time for people to like, set their New Year's goals and their New Year's resolutions and everything. But I think just you should take almost the entirety of December to just kind of look back and, look back at those 11 months and use this time. Bears hibernate. You know what I mean? This should be the time where we kind of sit down and just be like, what has the 11 months prior brought me? What have I offered it? What has changed over those times?
Yeah.
And for me, there's been a lot of like quiet personal growth, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I mean that in the literal sense of, with the exception of a couple interactions I've had that have just like really, really, really gotten under my skin for reasonable reasons.
Sure.
I've been really in control of my volume when I get frustrated.
Yeah, that's something. Since knowing you for a while, I know that like volume, and even for me, anger is a thing. So you being able to control your volume, I think, is a huge step.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reasons I think this might happen, but when confrontation for any sense of the matter gets presented to me, I have a tendency to come off as very, very like cold and uncaring and like calculated and intentional. And he does. It's intense.
Yeah, people do not argue with Taylor. He doesn't call it arguing, but that's what somebody who's winning would say.
My friends call it lawyer mode. Zane has coined that for sure. And for me, that feels like I'm just being direct and honest. And I've had to kind of go back and be like, that rubs people the wrong way.
Well, I mean, just understanding that like just the way that you prefer to interact and the way that people want to be interacted with can be two different things. And
that might be a trauma response for me. That might be a sign of mental illness in an aspect that I haven't discovered yet. There's a lot of reasons that could happen.
Yeah.
And if it's preventing me from reaching my goals and making my friends uncomfortable, is worth addressing.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Milestones for you. Like, is that something that you find yourself reflecting on quite often? Is it something that you're constantly looking at the next thing?
Yeah, I feel like the last few years have been like, there's been a lot of milestones because I went to grad school over the pandemic.
Yes, and you graduated.
Yeah, so I graduated in June.
Please clap at your home while you're listening.
That's probably the biggest milestone. But yeah, so I think this year has been huge for milestones because going to school and doing finishing that program specifically.
So how long did it take you to reach that milestone?
Well, for this, like for the master's degree, it took 2 years of going full time.
Master's degree?
But obviously,
I know. For real, we have to pay her. So
we are
please donate to the Smoke Break so that way we can keep Zoe.
Yeah, but that takes 2 years. But that's only like if you're lucky enough to be able to go full time. Like that's obviously a privilege. And then obviously it took 4 years to get the undergrad, but that was and it took me more like 7. But
yeah. But I mean, I think that you having completed it at all is like that. It means more than it maybe taking longer than it took other people. So
totally, yeah. And I think it's an extra big milestone for me because my mom always was like, "You're going to get a master's degree. I know you're," because like I hate school, but I'm like weirdly good at it when I get into something.
Mm-hmm.
And she always said like, "You're going to get a master's degree," and I was like, "Yeah, right. I'm never doing that." So I feel like it was extra big in the sense that she predicted it for me. And I actually did it.
Well, and it probably feels like a slog going through it, just to be like, oh, here we go, and then you're like, oh shit, I did it, and you start to get close, and you're like, I'm almost there. Yep. Holy shit! And yeah, what direction was that? Like, what do you have your master's degree in?
I got it in social work, but my concentration was like mental health, so that's
that's really important. I say that a lot of people that want to help people but end up seeking power, end up becoming cops, and a lot of people that want to help people but end up actually still wanting to help people in the right ways become social workers.
Yeah.
So that's kudos to you.
I could see Zoe being a pretty badass cop though.
I think
she'd be one of the good ones. She'd be one of the good ones. She scared the shit out of me, but she'd be one of the good ones.
No comment.
Did you ever? Yeah, I was like, wait, are you a cop? We mean no comment.
No, I meant like no comment, like on cops.
We can talk shit about cops.
Yeah, I was like, I thought we could.
I mean, I hope we can.
Yeah,
I've talked shit about the cops a lot.
That was my way of saying that, but yeah.
A cab includes Elf on a Shelf.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know why, but it does.
I saw a meme and said it. Yeah. So as far as like milestones, how do you like find yourself recognizing them?
Oh, well, I feel like something that I've been noticing lately is like I'll notice like a what's the word? Like a conflict or like I'm trying to think of the word, but either way, like something will happen and I'll feel this something feels like an argument or like something feels bad. But then what I'm realizing is that it's actually like a mismatch between like some area of growth in my life and then like mismatched with another area of my life that like hasn't grown as much. And so that's the way that I've been noticing like, oh, I've progressed, even though it felt like conflict.
Yeah.
I realized it was actually a sign of like having stronger boundaries leads to more conflict sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just sort of like the difference between one area versus another area of your life.
What's a really higher thinking concept too of having better boundaries leads to more conflict because you're not necessarily changing the people around you while you're changing your boundaries, and so they're used to your older boundaries, and that's a very uphill battle that is difficult to do with like respect and being gentle.
Exactly. Yeah. And I guess like conflict is a loose word, right? Like it could just be heavy conversations or
hey, can you do something different?
Yeah, but it does feel like conflict, especially when you're not good at setting boundaries.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I like that even that you use different language for it, be like conflict, confrontation, like argue, like each one of those I feel like is a different level of like this has elevated to this point. So just like even recognizing that like, hey, in order for me to say yes to myself, I have to say no to certain people. So
yeah.
Well, and that you like I personally really appreciate that you reworded that in a lot of different ways because, like I said, like my lawyer mode has prevented a lot of effective communication. When I'm like, well, this isn't an argument. This is a disagreement. This is this. We're just talking, and it's like we're all saying the same fucking thing. If I would just shut up for 5 seconds and like get to the point.
Yeah, definitely. I guess with like me in regards to milestones,
you made a lot this year, dude.
Yeah, no, it's very true.
Fucking killed it this year.
And I appreciate that. It's something that like I try to reflect on, and I've definitely been reflecting on this last month. For example, I got in that car accident. I made a joke about getting my settlement. I actually didn't. I just wanted to make that joke sooner. So welcome to comedy. It's all fucking illusion. I got my settlement yesterday. I blew through most of it. I still don't have a car. But with that being said, a lot of stuff has happened, a lot of changes, new hosts, new kind of setup, just a lot of changes have happened, but I've spent basically this last month playing fucking video games, but mostly just kind of
work on Call of Duty. Oh my God.
We've been fucking shit up.
Popping off.
But I guess like using that time just, I guess, effectively and just kind of just taking account of everything that has happened, it's like it's very easy when you're not doing anything to think that you've never done anything or to feel like you're not going to do anything. But I think in those moments it's almost better to relax, look at all the things you've done, and then like plan a little bit for the stuff in the future. But definitely just take in all the stuff that we've accomplished. If you've listened to Smoke Break for any length of time, you know that I'm horrible at fucking relaxing. I talked about it with Zoe. I've talked about it with probably every guest, but it's definitely
I have to force him to relax. I'm like, play video games with me, and he's like, hold on, I gotta send this email. I gotta check.
That was
this
last
thing.
night. That literally, I was literally,
and I'm like, you wanted to play video games with me.
Yeah, I had it open and in front of me. I just didn't, and that's the thing.
Eventually, we did.
Yeah, we did. But I think that it's definitely important to kind of take account of milestones, especially at like this time. So I guess like by next year, what's something that you want to be like? Okay, I did some cool stuff this year.
Before we move on to next year,
Sure.
I think that you kind of skipped over your milestones.
I always do. I like talking to other people. That's why I do the Smoke Break.
Dude, your EP.
Yeah, it's very true.
How many different people was that the number one most played? Like all 5 of my most played songs were your EP.
Yeah, and I kept stealing your phone and playing it on silent, but I appreciate you.
I mean, with like the first week that it came out, I was like, dude, I'm just gonna put this on fucking repeat, even if it's on silent. I'm just gonna.
And he's a sweetheart because he had to listen to it on repeat while I tried to figure out if it was good enough. So
I mean, if it wasn't good enough, I wouldn't have listened to it on repeat. So
I appreciate it. No, I appreciate it.
But yeah, no, your milestones are definitely worth patting yourself on the back. I feel like you kind of have a tendency to like feel like it's a necessary sense of completion. It's like, okay, finally I did the thing, instead of like, holy shit, I did the thing. That was fucking awesome. It feels like it's more relief that you don't have to do it anymore than like a success that you did the thing. And I feel like you definitely...
Get out of my head.
I mean, I'm not the therapist. She's the therapist. I'm just saying, as much time as I spend around you, it seems like there's not enough gratification that you give yourself and pats on the back that you give yourself. And I try to pat you on the back as much as I can. If I have to do that more physically and less metaphorically, I will. I will literally pat you on the back.
What about you? Do you ever catch yourself kind of in like a similar situation?
I think totally. I have a way of like I'll achieve something that I thought I couldn't achieve.
What's the next thing?
And then I do this thing where I'll be like, yeah, that was great, but like it might be because of this. Like I'll try to like
justify that it wasn't deserved.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get out of that because I know that's like an old pattern. And
you feel like it's kind of imposter syndrome-y?
Totally. And I think that's a big thing that comes up when you become like a professional, because it's like such a weird, and like doing a job where other people's like safety and well-being is like within your hand, like have a license.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. And so so I think sometimes it's easy to be like, yeah, I did it, but I had this help, or I had this, whatever. And people have pointed that out to me, like it's a tendency to want to like just
almost shirk it off and be like, I got it, but like my friends helped me with it.
Maybe I got lucky on that test or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a weird thing too, now that I'm like more aware that I do it. When I do it, I'm like, why am I doing that? I worked so hard for that. But
just out of curiosity, why do you think that you do it?
Probably just like, old patterns of like, insecurity or like
self-doubt.
Yeah. Like like things with my family, like, had a dad that was kind of like overbearing in some ways. So I feel like my big decision-making skills are kind of like, I need a person to approve my decisions sometimes, like just stuff from my childhood. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of relate with that, where it's like, even if I do a good thing, it's like, well, now you have to do either that good thing a second time to prove it, or another good thing that's better to prove that was real.
Yeah.
And then if you do that thing, now that's wash, rinse, repeat. Now you have to do another good, and it's just this constant cycle of like self-doubt.
Yeah, it's we raise the bar for ourselves, and I would say that a lot of that is like internalized, like capitalism, like perfectionism, individualism.
Like you have to, if you're not producing, you don't have worth. If you don't have worth, then fuck you.
And we raise the bar. I've heard that, like, we do something great and then we immediately raise the bar for ourselves instead of celebrating the fact that we made it over a bar that we were working really hard for a long time. We're just like, now we got to do better.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was actually talking with a friend about just like fear of failure and fear of success, because like some people don't understand that there's a difference. Because I was just like, do you have fear of failure, fear of success? And she was just like, well, what's the difference? And I was like, for me, like, fear of success is self-sabotaging. So that way, if I fail, it's because I made me fail, not because, I lost.
Yeah.
And I think like with fear of failure, I think it's just, we don't want to look dumb. We don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to look like we're less than. So it's like, it's easier to not do things than it is to do them and not do them to our standards. So
totally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, milestones are definitely something that I think that we can all just take a little bit of time to celebrate. And I think you guys have some really cool ones to be celebrating this year. So
Yeah, you too, Zane.
Hey, I
Yeah,
appreciate you.
Definitely.
I appreciate you.
I'm glad that we're all able to reflect passionately on our growth this
Yeah,
year.
especially considering how rough of a few years it's been for everybody
Absolutely.
overall.
No, thank you. And that's a really good point. It's just kind of like, because it has been so rough, it's that much more important to acknowledge and be grateful for the good. So we are going to take a real quick commercial break. We'll be right back with the smoke break. We're here every Sunday on Shady Pines Radio and Pretty Dope Xperience Radio.
Wednesday evenings at 9 p.m. Come explore the spaces between friends. DJ 1017 takes you into a universe unlike any other. From Pink Floyd to the Flaming Lips and anything else interstellar. The spaces between friends with DJ 1017. Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Come explore with us here on Shady Pines Radio.
Jesus Christ, we got to change these commercials. Welcome back to the smoke break.
Yeah.
We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio.
This room feels different
I got
now.
scared.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, no, I the camera almost came back on and I wasn't in here is about what happened.
Lights flicker. There's someone behind me.
Yeah.
Nosferatu.
Oh my God. So I'm your host, your old pal Zane, here with Taylor Barrett
What's up?
and Zoe Schwartz.
Hi.
All right. So on this section of the smoke break,
This little chunk.
this little chunk, I was actually talking to somebody, and I'll be honest with you guys, a little transparency. Usually when I do these episodes, I'm just like, hey, what am I dealing with that like I want to work through with my friends? But this week I decided to reach out to somebody who I care a lot about, and I was just like, hey, what are you dealing with? And the thing
That I care a lot about too.
Absolutely.
I know them very little, but every experience I've had with them, I've just been like, this is a fucking homie.
Yep. Yeah, super homie. And basically they were kind of just talking about the idea that like they were losing their father, and their father was having a hard time crying in front of them. They would cry in front of all the women in the family, but would not cry in front of them as a male. So
It's a lot to unpack.
lots to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
That's you're watching somebody in their final moments, their most vulnerable moments, and the thing that would make you feel more comfortable might not be the thing that makes them feel comfortable. And the thing that we kind of came to is just like, I think that in his case, because, you know, I knew this man pretty well, toxic masculinity was mostly that thing that made it so he was able to show maybe emotion to the women around him, but not to the men. So toxic masculinity, it's an interesting subject. It's a buzzword for a lot of people, but I think that it's definitely important to understand where a lot of it comes from, how it shows up, and how we can kind of just combat it actively. So let's go ahead and start it off. I think it shows up in a lot of different places. Taylor, go ahead and tell me where you think it shows up for you.
The most obvious spots in my life that I've noticed, like I'm still discovering a lot of like personal habits that come from toxic masculinity that I didn't even know were there. And I do think that's really important for every male to be willing to like recognize patterns that develop from toxic masculinity. Every male on the planet, even if you are the sweetest dude, you're gonna have toxic masculinity traits. That's just how.
I agree with what you're saying. Can we define toxic masculinity so that way going forward when we say that, they know what we mean when we say it?
I think it's important to
So do you want to give your definition, or Zoe, do you think?
I'm curious what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking, I guess I wouldn't say that I definitely know what the definition is, but I think what I want to say is I think masculinity within itself in this culture, or well, like the predominant culture, is toxic, if you want to use that word, because I think masculinity as a construct is harmful to everybody. I think gender binaries are harmful to everybody.
No, and I think that's even and also an interesting point to bring up is just gender binary.
But I think just
there's so many layers to the masculinity.
Yeah, so not to say that like every aspect of masculinity.
Yeah,
I also think masculinity isn't necessary. Like everybody can possess masculine and feminine traits. But I think, I just think that it's more about like the way that our culture is about gender in general, and that's why masculinity is toxic, because of that bigger overarching stuff, I think.
My definition for toxic masculinity would be the things that are if you can funnel it into like, well, it's what a guy does, then it's probably a toxic masculine trait, because that almost like breeds excuses.
Yeah, exactly. It excuses it because it's like, well, it's just one of their maximum recording. Oh man. Okay. Well, it's showing up on the stream. It's fine.
That's
I don't know why. It's probably on.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah. Well, technical difficulties. Just stay tuned. Go ahead.
Anything that can get funneled into like, well, that's what a guy does. This is just what guys do. Well, you got to expect this from guys, whether that's like how they flirt with women, even though it's very uncomfortable. The way women have to operate around men a lot. Well, they're gonna do this, so be ready to say this. You got to be nice to them, or else they might follow you home, type of shit. Like that's so bizarre that there's an ingrained culture around that. Yeah, but for me, it shows up a lot in like my family experiences. I noticed that in a lot of just like weird expectations that, well, because you're a dude, you have to operate like this, and they were never like they would never say like, don't play with Barbies. They would just
give you G.I. Joes.
Well, they would not even like toys that could be dolls. You know what I mean? They would just explicitly like cut that off. And it wasn't.
It's not that they weren't saying it. They weren't giving you an option.
That wasn't part of their world for males. And it was, there's a lot of stuff that gets, I've noticed a lot of males in my family that have just become silent and complacent with everything, and I can't imagine how many things that they never got to address. I can't not imagine how many things that my grandpa never got to address with my grandma, how many things my uncle never got to address with the rest of my family, and it hurts kind of seeing them operate like that. It hurts that I had to like borderline defy my family and like go against them in some like fucking anime plot type of thing where I like, you know, like it was obnoxious, where I felt like I really had to lone wolf that, and I developed a lot of insecurities. But through that, I've been able to kind of break through that and accept, like I went the exact opposite way, where I was like, fuck everything masculine. I'm embracing every bit of femininity. And through that, I've been able to kind of embrace the parts of me that I am okay with. Like I have a very passionate love for like boxing and MMA, despite me hating it for so long because it's just a macho dude thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's it's important to be able to like pick the parts out of it that do apply to you and take the parts out of it that are toxic to yourself and other people.
Yeah, I don't like MMA because I like seeing people get hurt and seeing people bleed. I like seeing jiu-jitsu specialists and kickboxing specialists.
Naked dudes.
Well, and that doesn't even necessarily have to be masculine, right? Because there's lots of feminine identified people that, or whatever gender, that probably about like appreciate that same thing about MMA. Right. So it could even just be that it doesn't have to be.
And I think the masculine feminine thing is kind of coincidental. Like it's masculine to want to be a protector for the family, but I think there's plenty of women that operate as the protector of the family, whether that's a psychological protector, a financial provider. It's just kind of the coincidental terms that we've landed on, whether it's masculine or feminine. You could pick pieces of both of them to apply it to your personality without feeling guilty about either.
No, I think that's a really good point. So as far as like, I guess toxic masculinity showing up in a broader sense, that's not the word. In a why?
No, I mean, in a more that word still means what it means, saying? Even though it's funny in that context. But
you use too much wordplay that you do on accident and notice it before anybody else does.
I know what you meant, Zane. I know what you meant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Please take it from here.
Basically, like what I was thinking about toxic masculinity in general, which I guess I kind of wish I would have said when I was like talking about the definition, but I think of it like this, like I think of the patriarchy, which is like a system of oppression that like positions like white male identified people as the, you know, rule, the head, you know, the
kings.
They're at the highest part of the hierarchical system that like all the high, you know, whatever. So I think that is the system that creates, you know, the toxic aspects of masculinity.
It allows it to survive, because if the person in power is saying it's okay, well then everybody kind of that's the rule of the land. Yeah,
and there's a lot of other systems that are like built upon that same structure. So I think like you could break down where patriarchy plays into like a lot of stuff.
Sure. Well, I mean, if the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, I'm really bad at history, but the thing was written by a bunch of white dudes from a long time ago.
I believe the Bill of Rights, I could be wrong with this.
The Bill of Whites.
Might as well be. I believe the Bill of Rights is the first 10
commandments.
No, not grand.
I was born in Canada. So.
Listen, I'm more of a mental health guy than a history buff.
Yeah,
but listen, but the idea is that like people in the past usually the rules were written by a certain group of people and not really reflecting the people being represented, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that it feels very much in the same vein as how my grandparents were just like, no, this doesn't exist to you. And like when the Constitution was written, it was very much of like, obviously we're not talking about these people, it's just us. And it's not like that anymore. And then it absolutely shouldn't be.
Yeah. Well, as far as like in a wider sense, like where do you think that do you think that it like starts with government? Do you think that it starts with just like community structure? Do you like where do you think that?
I think it's embedded into all of those structures because I think it was like a foundational part of like the building of like modern society or whatever that means, and like colonization and like all of the things that like white people took over, tried to take over the whole world basically.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like it ties into all. I think it falls, it like bleeds into everything. So I guess
like I feel like you're kind of describing it as like the Mandalorian code of like, this is the way, like this is just how we do it. And a lot of people are like, well, this is just how I do it. If I'm not doing it, if I don't fit this mold, then I'm defying the rules of society kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's internalized too. Like I was thinking about it, how toxic masculinity or patriarchy like shows up in my life, and I think a lot of women can relate to like now that I'm more educated about like you know feminism and like the history and all this stuff, but I still have a lot of like internalized
where you don't even realize.
Yeah, like internalized like sexist or just like hierarchical structures that are embedded into my like understanding of the world because I was indoctrinated into the world that way.
Yeah.
And that's just like racism. Like we all have internalized racism and we have to unpack it in order to just, I think patriarchy and sexism and toxic masculinity are the same way. Like,
they definitely feel like they come from a similar part of the brain.
The Bill of Rights. Thanks, Zach.
All the phobias and isms kind of feel like they come from the same place of just like this ignorant like wedge in your brain that you just like kind of need to slowly be willing to like slip out, even though it feels uncomfortable. You're so used to this wedge in your brain that like you could see a lot of people have like scar tissue scabbed over that wedge and they just live that way now. Like I keep referencing my grandparents, but like goddamn, they're referenceable.
Well, definitely with I guess like time, it's if you've been in that system for so long and you've benefited from it, then you kind of reject the idea that the system even exists. You're like, well, I mean, life was hard for me. It's like nobody said life wasn't hard. I'm
curious how.
You got 3 minutes. I just wanted to get my.
No, yeah. Go ahead. No, go for it.
Okay, cool. So the thing I just want to talk about real quick is just like in my experience, basically with like toxic masculinity, the way that I was able to perceive masculinity in any real way was through media. I grew up with two moms, so the only way that I really found I guess like an idea of what a male identity even looked like, how males act, was through media, and that's a problem.
Yes,
because the idea of what men should be kind of comes from where you were saying is society says it should be like this, therefore media has to reflect that, and I think that it creates a lot of problems because it doesn't allow us to define what masculinity is to us. It creates an idea that we have to live up to. And if we don't live up to that, then we're lesser in the eyes of our friends and family.
And entertainment as a way of creating a hyperbole of an individual. It's so exaggerated. Like Flavor Flav is just fucking ridiculous. That they're pushing that. They're pushing him being ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely just like these overblown ways that it shows up in media, whether it's movies, whether it's fucking music. Everything is just it's very and I've always, I guess, just hated toxic masculinity because it's so gross and it's something that like I don't feel comfortable like engaging in, like in the grossness of like, I guess like, dude, look at the blah, 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 because it's like I never like talking about that, and then as a result, the dudes I was with were just like, what, are you gay? And it's just like, it just all kind of like just goes into each other. And I feel like that's the problem with it, is that like, if you try to attack it from one point, then it's like, now you're a snowflake. You're not a man for a different reason.
Well, and they've created that entire culture has created this easy to fall back on avoidant nature of like, if it's ever addressed, now you can make fun of the person addressing it or the way they're addressing it or their background. So there's no need for accountability on their end.
Yeah. You don't have to address that, like, hey, calling everybody gay is a problem because you just called the person who said that it was a problem gay.
Exactly. There's this immediate like fallback plan. This fail safe of being shitty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Del, we're going to take a real quick commercial break and we'll be right back with the smoke break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio and Pretty Dope Xperience Radio.
Patches, come here, boy. I love Patches, and that's why I love Patch Dog.
Hey, Dad, were you calling me?
No, I was calling the dog Patches.
Yes, Father?
Oh, not you, honey. Patch Dog makes custom iron-on embroidery patches. I can give them my design, and in a couple weeks, I've got custom patches. They can be of my daughter Patches, my son Patches Jr., or even my dog Patches.
Yes, dear.
No, that's Patches, my wife. I'm just making a commercial. And because Patch Dog loves you so much, use the code SPR10 for a 10% discount.
Yay.
And you know they've got that free domestic shipping. For more information, check out patch.dog and fall in love with patches like me.
Did you
Yes,
call me?
dear.
No, I'm making a commercial for Patch Dog. Patch Dog.
And we are back with a smoke break. We are here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio as well as Pretty Dope Xperience Radio. I'm your host, your old pal Zane, here with Taylor Barrett.
Hello.
And Zoe Schwartz.
Hi.
All right, we are going to the joke break. That's not the right one. We are going to the joke break. We're going to ask a question. We ask one every week. Best part about the joke break, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not, just like jokes. This
Sometimes
week,
it's sad.
sometimes it's just fucking sad. Just like comedy. What's the fastest way to make this awkward? What does that mean?
I don't know.
What does that mean to you? What's the ask that question?
That's such an open, like, I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of my humor is that my brain
Invite
asks
Zoe.
myself-
That's
Yeah.
the fastest way to make it awkward.
This is a good one for the smoke break or for the joke break. What's the fastest way to make this awkward? I guess we'll reflect on a little bit. What's something that makes a situation immediately awkward for you?
So there's two different types of awkward. There's like multiple people aren't understanding something. There's a missed piece of information or miscommunication somewhere, and it's just collapsing and it's getting really awkward and uncomfortable, and I don't know what to do.
Because there's one piece of information that would fix all of this.
Or two, or like, well, whatever. There's something happening there's not, it's falling apart
falling
because
apart.
of really, and I'm uncomfortable.
Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Yes, I can't watch that show because it makes me so fucking uncomfortable. It's
Oh my God.
brilliant writing. It's so funny. Makes me too uncomfortable.
But they're missing one piece of information and everything's falling around.
But if you tone it down like 2 notches to The Office, where it's just like, that's fucking hilarious. Where it's just,
Office makes me uncomfortable.
where it's just people's the specific awkward parts of people's personalities interacting with someone else's coincidental piece of their awkward personality, and it just creates this amalgamation of awkward. It's beautiful. That's fucking hilarious.
What about you, Zoe? What's something that immediately makes something awkward for you?
Oh man, I don't know. I feel like sometimes like if I'm with someone who's like not talkative enough, and
Oh, yeah,
like they're
okay.
too different than me, and then I'm like, cool, well, I'm just gonna run my mouth and say a bunch of stuff that I wish I wouldn't have said later. And if anything, I'll like stay longer often and keep talking, and then I'm like, God, I can't get out of here. Like,
So it was awkward before, and then by trying to make it less awkward, you made it more awkward.
yeah, I tried to fill the space.
Would you rather not have a conversation with somebody and feel awkward about that, or have someone spark up a conversation about something that you don't want to talk about? Like someone throws some MAGA shit at you, and you're like, I don't know about that.
No,
or
I'd be like, at least we're talking.
no, I get heated with that kind of stuff, so I
Yeah.
feel like I'd probably
there's a
rather
threshold that might be. an
Yeah.
extreme
It's like,
example.
Jesus, Taylor, come on. Yeah.
I feel like I would rather not have a conversation with somebody than have a conversation with somebody about something that I feel very like
Different about.
contradictory about them with. That's something I feel strongly about, I guess, but I don't know if that was the question.
I mean, kind of. I feel like that intensity of my question kind of crossed the threshold with the MAGA shit.
Yeah,
maybe,
Jesus.
Maybe like
Someone's burning a cross in your yard. Are you talking to him? It's like, Jesus Christ. About
okay, all right.
about what?
with less intensity, maybe just like a deferring like sports team or some shit. Like,
That is so different.
yeah.
Wait. So what's the question now?
Would you rather talk to someone about something that it doesn't see the same way as you, but isn't quite as intense as MAGA shit or not talked.
No, yeah, I do love a good debate, if that's what you're asking. Yes, I do love a good debate, as long as it's not something that I feel morally challenged by, because I'm just sort of overdoing the emotional work for people that don't really want to hear what I have to say. It's kind of pointless a lot of the time, and it leaves you feeling drained. So
I think you phrased that perfectly, because I was struggling.
Thank you, Zoe, for catching that fumble. Let's see. What's something that makes it awkward for me? Taylor. Yeah, Taylor a lot of the time. But sometimes he doesn't. I guess it's just being misunderstood makes things immediately awkward for me. I feel like I'm somebody who can often communicate the way that I feel, and when I can't communicate that the way that I feel, or I feel like it's not being communicated the way that I want it to be, it immediately I don't know. That's probably a control thing.
You're not understanding me. I don't want to take part in this anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's just I guess it's just I don't know. I guess it's just I feel so uncomfortable, and I don't know what other people are going to say. So it's if I can't say things and I don't know what they're going to say, this is chaos. I have no idea. This conversation could literally go anywhere. The smoke break, I feel good when I know what we're talking about. When it's just us talking, fucking panic. It gets so awkward because I'm so the thing about the next thing is that can you guys talk now?
I saw this cloud one time. It looked like a dragon, and then the acid wore off, and it didn't really look like a dragon. My pictures were weird on the phone. And I was just the guy taking pictures of the clouds. And
when I'm oh, it's nice outside today, I'm all, really, Zoe? They were talking about the weather. That's my awkward moment.
That's such a funny taboo thing, because Washington is really unique weather, and so sometimes talking about the weather here isn't that weird, but whenever someone talks to you, you're oh, this motherfucker's talking about the weather.
Talk about the
we're
weather.
in Oregon, actually.
I'm okay. I live in Washington, Northwest, whatever. Yeah. I'm just saying it can hail and then be sunny and hot within a half an hour of each other. That's worth talking about.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Also, it gets really cold and really hot, and I like to complain about both.
Yeah. The earth is clammy. What the fuck?
It's clammy. I guess with I don't know what makes things. Are you going to draw another card? Or we just. You don't get to see what they are. That's what it's a surprise.
I wasn't going to read that card, and I wanted you to see it because it's worse than the last card.
Oh God!
I want to say it now.
Fine, fuck it.
Oh, we're not talking about it. But the question was, what was the most awkward boner you've ever had?
Oh no!
Jesus Christ!
What game? What chunk of the deck are you in,
dude? Listen, okay, the fucking chunk I apparently haven't explored.
Yeah, Jesus Christ!
I'm glad that you said that, because that
card is on timeout.
It's. I've been saving most of these cards, pinning them up and being oh my God, what a storyboard. Look at all the questions we've answered. I'm that's
sometimes they're really deep. I've seen episodes where they're what was the last thing you would say to your best friend?
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But it has that. It's a big range of
Yeah. Why do you feel like your dad doesn't love you anymore? And I'm just what's the most awkward boner you've had? I'm
imagine getting those two back to back. They had to sneak that in. What's the most awkward moment you ever had? Okay, now you're ready for the next one.
Yeah,
most
that's
awkward,
a Cards Against Humanity card.
Yeah, I was gonna say, most awkward meal to eat on a date.
Most awkward spaghetti.
I say tuna
Ribs.
melt.
Tuna melt?
Oh yeah. Or
You can see on Taylor's face that he's really thinking about a gross food or awkward food.
A food that wouldn't normally be gross, but is not a first date food.
Okay.
And
wings.
I can fuck up some wings on a first date.
Yeah, but you also fuck up the first date.
And your shirt.
I have.
And your shirt. Yeah, exactly.
You should ask Micah about that.
Is that how you won her over?
No, it's how I almost lost her.
Should I bring it up then?
Yeah. Oh, she'll think it's funny. Yeah.
No,
our first
chicken
date
wings.
was
the old chicken wings story.
One of our first date was Buffalo Wild Wings, and then we went to the car and made out. And she I had a lot of buffalo sauce in my hands.
I hope you didn't have blue cheese, because that would be gross.
No, just a lot of buffalo sauce.
Oh
Napkins don't get everything off.
Yeah, that would make things awkward. That would definitely make things awkward.
Wet wipes.
Oh my God.
And she didn't say anything until afterwards, and I was like, "What the fuck?
Wow,
you really like me."
Aww, that's love.
Now we have a baby, and I'm getting her a tricycle.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm so fucking stoked to get that tricycle. I haven't got the tricycle yet, but I'm just contemplating what kind of tricycle,
like a big wheel.
No, we get her a legit tricycle, because she has stuff that she rides, or not like
one of the giant ones with the big wheel on the front.
Yeah, the motorized ones you see driving on the street. No, like a toddler
like the 1920s fucking one big wheel.
Yes.
Too tiny.
Yeah, and she has to get on a ladder
Just
to
get
get
her
on
one of
it.
those really tall unicycles.
Yeah.
She'll fit right in.
Yeah. We got this. We got this.
Yeah, we go straight from 4 wheels to 1. She can scoot around on her little 4-wheel things. Let's
Just get her a skateboard and lay her on it.
I've done that.
It's fun.
Zoe, what about what's something awkward that's happened to you recently?
Oh man, I don't know this. I'm just kidding.
Filling time.
I don't know how awkward has happened to me recently. I don't know. It's probably like inappropriate.
Did you? Well, what about your show last night?
Oh.
Anything awkward happen then? Something always happens.
Yeah, my show last night. Yeah, I had to position myself specifically near the door on the stage because I have to pee a lot, and then I had to get up and pee.
It's in her writer when she's like signs on for a contract. She's like, "Hey, I need a spot close to the bathroom."
I'm like, so where is the bathroom? And then I definitely had to get up and pee. I was definitely the only person, so everybody knows I have the weakest bladder.
You're the only person who pees. I read a book about this when I was younger. Only you pee.
Not everybody poop.
Everybody does poop. That's so true.
but
But
just-
only
Not
you.
Kim Jong-un.
Only
Kim Jong-un
Zoe
does not
pees.
poop. Yeah, like they saw you getting up and they're like, "Oh, she's the person that pees."
Yeah.
yeah. That's
She's
right.
her was like 1 in 100.
Yeah.
I do pee enough for the entire world. So
Taylor, what about you? Have you had any awkward moments recently?
I don't go out a lot.
Okay. I can't be embarrassed because I am only in front of me.
Yeah, no, I'd say the most awkward shit happens at work because I feel like I am a very different type of person than people that I work with. Like you'd never see us in the same room outside of work, which I feel like applies to a lot of people, but it's like we're all pretty similar age ranges. Like we're all within like 5 years of each other. We all have similar exposure to media. We all smoke weed and shit, but it's like they wouldn't hang out with me.
I would not do any of those things with them.
Exactly.
I would not watch a movie, smoke weed.
They even play fucking video games and shit, and I'm like,
we have nothing in common.
I don't want to play with you. Like,
yeah.
But just the interactions there, I think that goes back to like how things get awkward when people like misunderstand things. It feels like the way my boss talks and the way that all of us interpret things is there's a disconnect, and then the way that we talk and the way that everybody else, like there's just a constant disconnect, and it's
everything's awkward always.
Yeah.
If you don't feel awkward, the person you're talking to might.
Everyone's cocking their head to the side like a dog that just heard a new noise. Everyone's just kind of like bullshitting,
like,
saying
I
yes.
hate your job. I never want to go there.
Zane worked with me.
I used to work with him. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sounds like a stressful
He got me the
environment
job.
for you.
It very much was. It very much was.
He has the ridiculously high level of charisma, so he was very able to just be like, "Oh yeah, it's all good." It's all, and our boss.
Hey, can we go to do an open mic on the clock? He's just like, well, I mean, as long as it's for lunch.
Do you think he would have said yes to me? Do you think he would have said yes to me if I was like, "Hey, can we take 2 hours off of the shift that you scheduled us to go hang out at a bar and do comedy?"
So you're not as awkward as you made yourself seem then, Zane. If you could handle that, that's
no, but that's the thing is like the way that we described it. I don't know if you ever played Dungeons and Dragons, but the way we describe it is I either roll a 1 or a 20. 20 is like the best thing you can get. It's a critical hit. You get bonus stuff. 1 is you miss so bad you hurt yourself.
Every interaction in Dungeons and Dragons, they say roll, and the number determines how good that interaction was. If you're trying to schmooze somebody and you roll a 20, you convince the fuck out of them. If you rolled a 1, they hate you and you owe them money now.
Yeah, exactly. So I either roll a 1 or a 20. And when I roll a 20, everything's coming up daisies. When I roll a 1, though, boy, is it a fucking 1. Did I injure myself?
Hey,
I think I can relate to that actually.
No matter what,
you feel the same way, like where it's just like I can say things the way I want to so often that when I don't, it's awful.
Yes, yeah. Well, maybe not that I can do it so often, but just usually it's one or the other.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm all killed that, and then otherwise I'm leaving like everybody hates me, and I also hate myself.
But no matter what, your finger gun away.
Yeah, exactly. No matter what, I'm finger gunning on exit.
Well, that was awkward. Because of me.
Never show my face here again. Goodbye.
Cool. Replaying that in my head on the way home.
Cross this city off the map.
Thinking about that for 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
One
Guess I'll just heavily identify with this, make it my whole personality. So, has been the joke break. We are going to be right back with my favorite part. We're going to catch up with all of our awesome hosts. Thank you guys for hanging out.
I'm going to clean out some of these shitty cards.
yeah. Actually, I changed my mind. We're going to go through these, make sure they're all good.
We need to do some censoring.
So, we are the Smoke Break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Experience. And we'll be right back after this commercial break.
We love you.
We captured the taste and sound. Only here on Open Country. Sundays, noon to 1 with your host, Anti-Vandal. Folk music with Anti-Vandal. We captured the taste and sound on this open country, noon to 1, Sundays, with your host, Anti-Vandal, here on Shady Pines Radio.
All right, we are back with the Smoke Break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Xperience Radio. I'm your host, your old pal Zane, here with Taylor Barrett.
What up?
And Zoë Schwartz.
Hi.
We made it. You made it to the end. Oh my God, as a host. Oh my goodness. And Taylor Barrett, you're back. We can talk about my favorite thing. What are you excited for?
What are you excited for, Zane?
What am I excited for? Oh my God, I love when people ask me questions. What am I excited for? I'm excited for this new setup. I'm excited to be spending some time with different people, new friends, old faces, like people who I've been working with, people who I get to be excited to start working with and work with more. Finding a rhythm for all this. Definitely working with Amanda these last probably, I want to say 30 episodes. Yes, probably 30. No, probably about 50 episodes. Excuse me. Yeah, she was since episode 16 all the way to 66. So Amanda was there for a huge chunk of them. It was an honor to share that space with her, and I'm excited to be able to welcome new faces, and new perspectives, because I think a lot of the stuff that she talked about was really important, and I just don't want this show to be like three dudes being like, nobody lets us cry. You know what I mean? Like, it could very easily be that, just like this dude's mental health because chicks have their own or whatever. I think it's just called therapy.
No girls allowed.
Yeah,
but
no
also
girls.
Toxic masculinity is bad.
Instead, they just invited me to be on here, and I'm going to make them cry.
Yeah, exactly. No, well, and you as a therapist, I think just have all this information that I have ideas, but I don't have anything to back them. Mm-hmm. So to just kind of have that validation that either we're on the right track or there's a perspective change that I need to make, just being able to have somebody to bounce ideas off of that knows what they're talking about is going to be just so valuable. So yeah, I'm genuinely really excited for that. On top of that, I got a show tonight, so I'm going to go do that. We're do it with Adam Posse. Nice. Doing some music and comedy, so that should be fun.
Exciting.
So I'm excited for the show tonight. And what else? Let me see. Is there anything else? I'm excited to get a fucking car. Jesus Christ. If you guys know a hookup before I spend
You guys know about cars? You guys heard of these?
Yeah, have you guys heard about these cars? The bus is rough. But yeah, so I'm excited to get a car. My life's starting to get back on track. It's been a month. I haven't been able to do the episodes. Sorry about last week. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. Stuff's been sort of chaotic between the car, between the hosts, but I would say that things are genuinely starting to fall into place, and I'm genuinely appreciative of you guys joining me to do that. So what about you, Zoe? What are you excited for?
I'm excited. Well, yeah, to be joining the Smoke Break. That's definitely one of the more exciting things happening in my life. And starting my job finally.
Yes.
And
that's huge. That's huge. What's your start day?
Well, I have my first intake scheduled for January 2nd. So
January 2nd.
That's
okay.
Exciting. I start training next week on the system and everything at the place I'm going to be working. So
you guys are so fucking cool and qualified, and I'm so not.
So
I'm so nervous.
Here's to hoping my job never listens to my episode. I might have allegedly missed the first day because I got too high and forgot to turn in some papers. So I mean, qualified is a weird word.
People think you're qualified.
Yeah.
Okay.
Harm reduction is important, and I think that we talk about that is that I didn't get so high on meth that I missed it. So or drunk. So
you got high on a legal drug.
Yeah.
Because that's how grown-ups get high.
Exactly. If you're going to be dumb, be smart about it. Harm reduction. Boom. What I was going to ask you about though is so you're excited about this, about doing the new job. You're starting January 2nd?
Yeah, I think,
Okay, so what's starting look like for you? Does that mean that you're going to be you're going to start picking up clients?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm screening people now to make sure I'm a good fit for them, and then scheduling intakes. And then this intake process, it takes a while where I have to I have to listen to people. I want to listen to people's stories, but I have to formulate a clinical impression and a diagnosis, and that's how you bill for insurance.
Okay. So are you starting to become more familiarized with that side of the mental health system? Because did you feel free not to answer. Did you go to therapy before this?
Go to therapy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Which would be a weird question for you to be like, I don't want to talk about it, not on a mental health podcast.
Don't go to therapy.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't talk about your feelings, guys. But as somebody who went to therapy, I'm sure you saw it from that aspect of it. So being able to see it from the other side of being like, okay, so these are the steps that need to happen in order to.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, no, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, seeing how like the insurance thing is real kind of a bummer, to be honest, just how it works, because it's just like a barrier for people. And and the intake process is probably pretty annoying. You have to ask people like a million personal questions, and
even at the end of it, you might not be a good match with them.
For sure. Yeah. You might find out something that during the intake that you didn't realize when you did the screening, and be like, you know what, maybe I'm not qualified. Maybe I'm not special. You know, like you want to make sure that people are getting a therapist that's qualified for what they need and what they want and all that. And that's a big part of your job too, is to be honest with yourself about that. So
yeah, absolutely. What part do you think like finding the right therapist plays in treatment?
Oh, it's huge. There's a decent amount of evidence, whatever, that like they call it the therapeutic alliance. Is if that's not in place, then it doesn't matter what you're trained in. If you can't make the person feel comfortable, and
if you can't connect with somebody,
if you can't build a relationship with somebody, it doesn't matter how good you are at these techniques. It's not going to matter. So yeah, I'd say it's the most important thing, really.
My brother Tate had a therapist that just talked about themselves. And like, I felt more like Tate's therapist because Tate would talk to me and be like, yeah, my therapist is, and like, they're giving you another thing to talk about in therapy. They're not removing things to talk about. They're not like, So finding the right therapist is definitely really important. When I was really young, I had a therapist named Patty Kellogg. And shout outs to her by any chance she's listening. She was the best. She would relate to me in a really important way. Like, I don't really know the rules if you're not supposed to give too much information about yourself, but she would like be hesitant to be like, well, I don't smoke because my husband died, but when my husband died, I definitely started smoking more. And I was like 15 telling her about how I started smoking cigarettes and shit. And I didn't start again until I was like 25, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, well, I think that like relating to a certain extent is extremely important. It's just not over relating that to the point that you're making it about you.
Yeah, that's actually something that I really want to. Traditionally you're supposed to be like completely neutral and like, not, but what everybody really knows now is that nobody wants to tell someone their darkest.
That's
stuff.
Not telling them anything.
Yeah, that is acting like a robot. Yeah, like so there's a delicate balance between figuring out what is safe for the specific client to be open about.
Yeah.
They call it self-disclosure. I think it has a great purpose, but it also you need to be really thoughtful about the way
I think I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because I have thought that was like a very strange barrier, and where it's like where people like peers come in handy is that they have the space to share that personal experience. But I think that's cool that they're considering it and realizing the potential of being able to relate to somebody, because it's a lot of you opening yourself up to this person, giving them everything, them giving you nothing.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to feel comfortable. And I think that, just them being able to be like, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
I think especially with younger kids too, because being a therapist does not necessarily mean that they trust you to therapize them. You know what I mean? So like giving them room to feel comfortable.
Well, even coming from an adult position where it's just like
I don't trust adults.
Exactly. I remember what it's like to be a kid. Yeah, like that was when I worked with kids. I would try to remind them like, I remember what it was like to be your age. This is
which I'm sure they love to hear.
Well, I said it. I would try to use it in a way of like, I remember what it's hard to be in middle school. It's hard to be in high school. Yeah. It's hard to be a teenager.
Well, meeting them where they're at, like you've said before, and just being like, hey, like
when some phrases get really triggering, like the phrase, I remember what it was like. Even if you're coming at it from a very genuine standpoint, any kid hearing that is like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you got to say,
old person.
Yeah, I think there's a very delicate way to be like, wow, I remember when I was in middle school.
Yeah, there's a way to.
This teacher I had was doing this. Now a kid can be like, oh, teacher I have is doing that. And she'd be like, we're not so fucking different.
Yeah. You got to like say it in a way that like doesn't be like, I'm telling you the thing that you want to hear. Yeah,
definitely. No, I think, go ahead.
I think the way that you vocalize kind of concern of imposter syndrome, vocalize concern of the fact that other people's mental health are kind of in your hands. I think that shows your passion for it. You know what I mean? I think that people that don't have that concern are going to make the worst therapists, are going to make the least reliable people, because they don't have that.
They don't understand the power that they have.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
I think that as much fear as that might breed in your head, I think that it's from a really good place. It's because you're a good person that you feel like that.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it's just because I take it seriously. I want to be checking myself constantly to make sure I'm not centering myself.
Yeah.
because it's really important to not do that. Yeah.
No, I think that's awesome.
Best athletes are insane about the sport and they're quadruple checking everything and learning every little thing because they are so passionate about doing it right, you know?
Yeah. What about you, Taylor? What are you excited for?
Oh, I'm excited for a lot, man. I'm excited to be back here. I'm excited to be a more permanent part of this, even if it's once a month, twice a month. It's
Sure.
not just a random invite. You know, I'm a solidified part of this, and that feels really, really cool. I got an early Christmas present of getting a new Xbox, and I've not had my Xbox account in over a year.
Yeah.
My last Xbox shit out in over a year. So logging back into my old account and getting everything back in all my old games and shit.
Yeah,
I've been playing Halo.
No, I just like between our like friendship is just it's a lot of like connecting through that, you know. So it's like seeing you lose that, like I could tell how big of a difference that it made, just being able to have that place that you can go to once you get off work, you know, and just be able to relax. Like,
and it always felt like I was borrowing, like the PlayStation never really felt like mine, even though I bought it. It was, you know, I was using Jory's account for a long time. Then I made my own account, but it was blank because it was a brand new account. And then I logged back into this thing that I had been making, you know, 2 or 3 years worth of progress on, and it is all my shit there. I have my there's a little score called the gamer score that like keeps track of like all the different achievements you've made, and it's like 22,000. I was like, holy shit, I forgot I had all this. God damn,
I put some
It's
fucking
like
work
finding
in
$20 in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
$22,000 in your pocket.
You found your favorite pair of pants, and they still have money in them.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
That's the only way I could relate to that. Yeah. I don't understand video games at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, yay, something I didn't know I had that I have.
I guess it would be like finding like a sketchbook that you loved that was in storage that you forgot about, and then you open it up and you're like, I forgot I had these ideas even, but these are amazing. I felt like a child again.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you were able to get that back, and I think shout out to Micah, super
dude,
sweetheart.
I'm excited about the show, the Equilibrium. Super stoked about that. We're getting the ball rolling on that. You know,
we're working on a music show. So music / comedy show.
Music, God damn it!
I know Taylor's gonna host. We're gonna do some riffing.
Nice.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I have to be funny and musically talented. God,
yeah, it's got to be hard. But
toxic masculinity. I'm kidding.
But so you have that to look forward to. So it's like as far as shows, so you have this to look forward to. You have like we're working on starting another show hopefully in 2023.
Yeah, dude. I'm getting, like I mentioned, my daughter a tricycle for Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm super stoked about that. A normal toddler size, not big wheel tricycle, just for clarification for everybody.
I'm going to edit it in and say that it was specifically that, but yeah.
I want it to be red and white. Can you get her a red and white one?
Yeah. I'm thinking pink and black.
What if we pinch pink and black? Okay,
I'm as down with that, but I was thinking classic, but you know what?
But if there is
the radio flyer wagon.
That's right.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
That's what I was thinking.
With the wagon in the back. Yeah. I might have to hook her up with that and like a BB, you know.
Red Rider BB gun.
Rider, that's what it was. Yeah. Fucking she'll shoot her.
When has that ever gone wrong?
Yeah, never.
I'm all, where did the gun come in? I don't even know about that.
That's a Christmas story.
Christmas story?
I'm Jewish. That's why I didn't know that.
But if there's,
I didn't know that.
If there is a baby shark tricycle, you can bet your ass I'm getting her the fuck out of that.
Oh my God.
Tricycle. She's going to have a baby shark bicycle if there is one.
I just moved in with Taylor, and I have heard baby shark more times.
Oh man.
She loves that shit.
And I don't know what to do. I just do that for 3 minutes. I'm sorry, Taylor.
That was a dad joke if I've ever heard one. So.
If it was just
a baby shark joke.
If it was just
a daddy shark joke.
I'm going to kill myself.
You're Uncle Shark, clearly.
Persephone, that's my daughter's name. She calls, well, she doesn't really call them uncle right now, but she definitely views them as like familial. My roommates, Josh and Zane, she, whenever Zane would see her, he would just go, "Hey, it's you." And now, completely unprompted, she'll be like sitting in her high chair eating food. And Zane will walk by and she'll just go, "Hey, it's you," with finger guns.
With finger guns attached. I've done my job.
Oh, she's almost 2. She turns 2 on January 22nd.
When did you see a video of that soon?
Yeah.
Oh, she's so precious.
She's a sweetheart.
She's like spinning in the chair. I got a 2-minute video of me just like spinning her in a chair and stopping. And every time I stopped her, she dies laughing.
Yeah,
little kids laughing is like.
So pure.
Joy.
She has a chuckle.
Joy.
She has quite the chuckle.
I love it.
It's very. I'll show you.
Yeah, I'm going to see a video of that. That one too.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I'm excited to have you as back as part of I'm excited to like have moved in and be able to spend more time together so we can talk about stuff, so we can work on shows, so we can do all that stuff.
Yeah. And decompressing, just gaming with you. Like that's how I decompress is gaming, and that's how we bonded a lot. So being able to decompress and continuously do that with you is really nice.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point you guys should try to force me to play video games with you.
That would be a good live stream.
That'd be a sweet yeah.
We teach Zoe how to play COD.
I'm just gonna fall down whatever hole there is.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, it sounds like we have ourselves a new show. So this is the last episode of the Smoke Break. We're all gamers now. Go find us on Twitch. This has been the Smoke Break. I'm just kidding. Oh, you have so much to learn. This has been the Smoke Break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Xperience Radio. I've been your host, your old pal Zane, here with Taylor Barrett.
It was good to be back. We love you.
Good having you, and Zoe Schwartz.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We will see y'all next week, and later, players.